What's up, guys, and welcome back for the third episode in my series on life as a small corporation director in EVE Online. This week we'll you can see in my deep space transport, my Bastard this week, which I'm pretty excited about. It's my first DST, so pretty keen to. I've been flying this, picked up this week, been quite excited about it, and I've been able to do this because of the Crimson Harvest event. I got very lucky with a drop towards the end of the event. I'll just show you real quick. Obviously the event's finished, so you can't do this anymore. But this is why it's always worth taking part in some of these events. Here was the nice drop. It was the high grade Amulet Epsilon. Just got it out of a Crimson Gauntlet, and it sold for 855 million, which then enabled me to buy some stuff, which was nice. So I had quite a good week selling things, and then spent a shitload of money. But you'll see in here, where's it gone? My Porpoise is somewhere in here. There it is, the Porpoise. So I picked that up. And obviously my DST as well, the Bastard, and its fit. So pretty excited about this. If you don't know, the main benefit of the deep space transports is their tank is phenomenal. So if I simulate the fitting, that's the shield resistances, giving a 83,000 effective HP. So they are obviously not impossible, but they're more difficult to gank, or they give you time to escape and things. But also the fleet hanger, which enables them just to carry so much. If I go down here, fleet hanger with my skills, which aren't very good, 57,500 plus 5,000 in the capacity as well. So I can fit over 60,000 meters cubed of stuff in here, which outside of an Orca or a freighter is basically as good as you can get. So that's exciting that I've got this. So I can start moving some stuff. And I'll touch on the Porpoise a bit later on in the video as well. As I said, if you've been following the series, I've mentioned it in I think both episodes so far. Because of the payout from the event, I've been able to pick one up and actually give it a real run through, which I'll talk a little bit more about later. But in terms of being corporation director, this week there's relatively limited in what I can talk about. We've spent a lot of the week as a board on comms, in meetings, chatting about strategy and planning and things, and what we're going to do. I can't talk about that in any detail this week because we're having our corporation town hall on Wednesday, so we're going to disseminate all the information to our members in one go, so that all the members have equal opportunity to ask questions and offer suggestions and alternatives and things, and be listened to. Whereas obviously if I give out any detail now, some members will get it before others and things, so I can't do that. But I'm excited about where it's going, and hopefully I'll be able to bring you guys a lot more detail next week. But basically, outside of that, and that's taken up a big chunk of the week, I will admit, we've been on comms a lot. But basically, on the Monday we had our weekly high-sec mining operation. Excellent turnout for that again. We had 15 pilots on a high-sec mining op, which is the biggest I've been in, and it was really cool, really exciting. Again, a bunch of new pilots in there. But it presented its own logistics challenges. Obviously high-sec belts aren't the biggest asteroids, and with that many pilots it was impossible to not target the same rock as other people, so there was quite a lot of wasted cycle time and things. But it was excellent. We cleared the belt in no time, moved on to a second belt, but we had to cut the op early a little bit because there were gankers active in the system we were mining in. They regularly are, to be fair, so next week, so tomorrow I guess, we'll be looking at using a neighbouring system which are much less active in for our mining op. And I'll also be looking into maybe splitting the op into 2 sections. Some of our newer members are more experienced pilots, have orca skills and things, so I've probably left it a bit too late this week, but next week I'll be talking to some of them about setting up separate boosts, and so we can split the operation into 2 and be in 2 different belts and running through the ore in the system as fast as possible, which is awesome. In just a few weeks, being able to say that's what we're having to look at, like basically a problem being we've got too many miners, is a phenomenal problem to have. So I'm really excited about that. And yeah, that's what I'll be starting the week with this week. And as I mentioned, several new people again. Recruitment has been really good. Apparently, according to our HR team, in no small part because of these YouTube videos. So I could just thank you all so much for your engagement and wanting to join the corporation and stuff from these. It's just superb. We'll just have a quick look. Just a big bill to get to our corporation. This week we're at 104 members. So that's ramped up again. What was it, 92, 94 maybe last week? So we've added a good number of active pilots again this week, and hopefully we'll just keep that going. And these bigger member numbers are allowing us to do some of the stuff that I'll go into detail with next week that we've been planning. So that's really cool. We are going to be looking at some... We're not looking at, but part of the planning, we are going to be doing some large-scale construction projects, which is obviously exciting, and the planning of that has taken up a good chunk of this week as well. So basically I've had to sort of speed along the changing of the corporation buyback scheme which I operate. At the moment it's all very ad hoc. Members, if they're aware of it, because I haven't got a bulletin set up and stuff, so newer members won't be aware of it because I've not sent out a mail recently. But if they're aware of it, they can set up a contract at a certain buy price and blah blah, then I have to check it, all that. It's a bit of a waste of time. So what we are hoping to do now, and what I'll be doing, at least in the short term, is setting up corporation buy contracts in certain locations. So in the C2 wormhole for a lot of stuff, but I'll also set some up in our high-sec base. So these are contracts that will only be able to be filled by corporation members, and basically it'll be a fixed price. So if the corporation wants to buy 100,000 compressed Veldspar, we'll be able to put that contract up, and then someone can, once they've got 100,000 compressed Veldspar, they can accept the contract and just deliver the items and take the money. And that will be how that's going to work in the short term. Eventually we want to have a marketplace in the C2, and then that will be redundant because we can all just place buy and sell orders and things on the market like normal. And that can be limited to corporation members or alliance members, because only they have access to dock at the marketplace. So, but in the short term, the contracts are going to be the way we're doing it. So, been looking into make sure the mechanics of that work, and I believe they do. What happens is, because so contracts are universal. So if you open up your contracts window and search for something, I can't do it in here because I'm inside a wormhole at the moment. But if you open your contracts and just search, it'll give you the whole of K-space for contract locations, and you can just accept them from anywhere. It works a bit differently in wormholes. You can only see them if you're in the wormhole, right? So if I open my contracts now, I won't be able to see any because I'm inside a wormhole, and there are none in this wormhole. Where are they? Finance, contracts, contract search. Let's search cadmium, nothing. And you'd expect something. Let's try Orca, because there's always Orca blueprints on the market. Nothing, right? So because I'm inside a wormhole, you can't see it, and actually you can see that here. Actually, it's a filter. So if I get rid of gate to gate, there we go. So that's interesting. Okay, so I need to continue to investigate the mechanics, because what I don't want with this corporation buyback is someone to be able to fill the contract in the middle of nowhere that I'm not interested in, right? Or that the corporation's not interested in. So if we want Veldspar in the C2, I'd like that contract to be filled in the C2, or at least Bagadan maybe, where I can haul it from. But what I don't want is for someone to fill that contract in Jita, and I then have to haul it 35 jumps. Because then you might get the occasional person that just exploits it, sits in Jita, buys all the stuff, sells it to the corporation at a slight profit, and then I've got all the work of going to Jita and hauling it when I could have just gone and done that and bought it myself in Jita, you know. So I thought I didn't notice this thing down here, so I thought that that was happening. But if someone just turns this off, it would appear that they can just accept contracts. So I'll need to look into that a little bit more. But that's the plan in the short term, and hopefully, if it only needs to be used up until we've got a marketplace, then hopefully our corporation members will be able to just, you know, sell where we ask them to fulfill the buyback. Anyway, so that's what I've been looking at this week as well, setting up a buyback scheme for, and it's obviously, because it's contracts, it's going to be for specific items and specific volumes of items that we're after. So when we do these large scale construction projects, we'll be looking for obviously a lot of ore. You specifically want minerals, but we'll be actually asking for ore because we've got max refine values, so it's better value for our members if they would sell the ore directly to us and not the minerals, and PI materials and things like that. But then also, separate from these large projects, we're also long term, but starting now, we want to be able to produce fuel blocks internally. Obviously it's a huge expense for the corporation, and more specifically our CEO, is the fuel to run the structures, because we have several. So any fuel we can produce internally goes some way to reduce that expense. Well, yeah, I mean, it doesn't actually necessarily reduce the expense for the corporation or for our CEO, but what it does do is it keeps that ISK within the members of the corporation members. So if we're able to buy the PI on buyback from the PI materials for fuels from our own members, then that ISK isn't going to the market, it's going to our members' pockets, right? And then everyone's happy. The main issue for the fuel blocks is going to be ice access. This is a problem for everyone, especially in HiSec, the universe over, because I believe ice is leaving HiSec entirely at some stage. And it's definitely been reduced drastically anyway. So that ice access is a huge problem. But we do have a couple of guys that have influence in null sec alliances, and have access to null sec ice and things. So working with a couple of those guys to try and set up some form of stream of ice into our C2 so that we can do fuel block production, for our own internal use, but also to sell and as a revenue stream, because I can only speculate, but I can imagine that as ice obviously becomes more scarce, the price of fuel blocks is going to go up. So that's what we're doing. We'll be setting up buy contracts to fill those orders as well, so for things like robotics and the like. If any of my members, or anyone generally, but if any DISA members are interested in what fuel block, what PI they can do for fuel blocks, I'll put a link to a video up in the top right where I, quite a long time ago, did a video on a high-sec setup for fuel block PI. I don't operate that anymore, and it can probably be more efficient and things, but it might be worth looking at just as a point of reference. So that's the fuel block PI, and again, planning for that has been a part of the week, and coordinating with the other guys in our corporation to get that set up. Got a couple of guys helping me with that, which is really cool, and we've got really helpful. Some of them are going to sort of take lead on that, with some basically just me giving them some money. Anyway, what else have I been up to this week? I've been continuing my high-sec ore mining on my alt. Actually not running it at the moment, but where I normally am. But basically, as I mentioned last week, the plan for that is to be able to build a stockpile of reaction materials, starting with the high-sec versions. That started. I've been running the reactions for those, for things like silicate gas. I've forgotten what the name of them they are now, but the materials are atmospheric gases, evaporate deposits, silicates, and hydrocarbons. And there's four reactions using just those. So carbon polymers is one, as an example. And you can. So I'm building a bit of a stockpile of those, so that if we have any members that want to do some T2 manufacturing down the line, I could be able to provide access to those stockpiles, give them a bit of a jump start, and sort of alongside that, I've got a bunch of prospect BPCs that I invented quite a long time ago. Just in case anyone isn't aware what a prospect is, it's one of the T2 ventures. Prospect, this thing. So they're really good for wormhole living. They got bigger ore hole capacity than the venture, double the size, but also a load of buffed mining and gas harvesting yields. So 5% per mining frigate. So that's the same, I think, as the venture, but then again 5% per expedition frigate, and then 100% bonus again for being an expedition frigate, and it can fit CovOps cloaking devices. So really good for wormhole life. So I've got a bunch of BPCs for that. I can produce. I've got enough to produce 36 of them. I probably won't do that right away because that's quite a lot. That whole thing will be worth about $1 billion ISK. But at the beginning, I'll produce, between 4 and 12 maybe, and just make them available on contract to corporation members. Again, for a good price, and those will be available in the C2 once they're built. So to achieve that, for anyone that's not aware, I could do a separate video if anyone's interested. I can do a separate video on my on T2 manufacturing generally. I'm not very good at it. There are others who are much better at T2 manufacturing. Mupasega for one. But he does buy all the components from the market, I think, whereas I'm trying to do it from moon material level. So I'm going through the reactions and stuff at the moment to then get the materials, to build the components, to then build the prospects. It takes a long time, The reactions themselves take a long time, and there's a lot of them to do. If we, I'll just do a quick example here. If I get the prospect back up, right, industry, there's all of these things here. These are the components, Tech 2 components. If I just go into one of them, let's go ion thruster. You need each of these reaction materials to produce the ion thruster. And actually, to produce each one of these, ferrogel is the tough one. If I go into ferrogel, you need each 4 of these, and again, these are like Tech T1 reactions. So if you go inside these again, then you get to the moon materials. So there's a lot of layers to go through, right? So, and that happens for each one. So for, if I take chromium and platinum, turn it into hexite, I then use hexite and turn it into ferrogel. I then use the ferrogel and turn that into the ion thruster, and I can then build with the ion thruster and turn it into a venture. But I've got to do that for ferrogel, got to do that for phenolic composites, got to do that for crystalline carbonide. And, within ferrogel there are 4, so it's a seriously complex thing. You do make more ISK doing it this way, but whether it's worth the time investment is a completely different question. So, as I say, Mupa does it all through. He just buys, I think it's this level from the market. He buys like the ion thrusters level from the market, and then just builds the T2 ship, which gives you relatively good return. If we just go view an industry, if it'll let me do this, view an industry. Again, this is just estimated prices, but one run, 17 million, sells for 23 million. So I know it's only estimated prices, but if you just bought these, produce this, that's 5 million. Yeah, if once you take into account invention, that's probably 5 million per ship. So that's good. But then if I were to just produce oscillator capacitor units from, if I bought this level, 7 million to 8.5 million, so there's a markup there. And then again, there's a markup when you go inside 10.1 to 12, and so on, right? So there is financial reason to do this, but it is slow. But I guess the main thing to consider is the reactions are separate to your manufacturing jobs. So you can do reactions in the background whilst you're also running your manufacturing jobs. So once you're up and running, you're not really losing any time, as long as you've got a good way of keeping track of it, which at the moment I don't. Anyway, so that's for another video if people are interested. We'll do it in more detail, but for now, that's everything to do with that. I'm building prospects. But whilst we're on reactions, I did mention last week that I'd come across unrefined reactions. If I just kill this, go down here, there's all these unrefined things. What I thought might be the case with these is raw tungsten alloy might be the one I was looking at. Yeah, okay. So what I thought might be the case with these is that normally if you were to look at rolled tungsten alloy by itself, it requires tungsten and platinum. And platinum is a difficult material to come by, so is tungsten, but platinum's harder. Unrefined requires atmospheric gases, which is a high-sec one and really easy to come by in tungsten, to produce unrefined tungsten alloy, which when you refine, you get tungsten out of it. And it looks like a lot of tungsten as well, right? 164 units. That looks lovely. So, there was the potential that this is a way to sort of just create tungsten from a small initial investment. and then you still get rolled tungsten alloy out of it. I did a bit of research this week, and the key issue is that the best refining rate you can achieve on unrefined materials is 55%, because it's treated like salvage material, or scrap metal type thing, so it relies on your scrap metal reprocessing skill, which if you max out gives you 55%, and you can't improve that with structures or anything like that, or implants or anything. It's it's not affected. It's the only reprocessing skill that isn't affected by structures or implants and things. So you're capped out at 55%, which then means, 55% of 164 is actually like 88 or something units. And so from your investment of 100 tungsten, you're only getting 88 out. So you're not creating tungsten. And that, that doesn't need to be a bad thing. There's still a time and a place. I've forgotten the name of the YouTuber now, but he was part of Brave Collective, if anyone comes across his video. I was looking, so he's done a very comprehensive spreadsheet on which ones are sort of worth doing financially. I think there were only 2 he mentioned. Hexite might have been one of them. But so it's possibly worth doing financially, but the other issue is just the time investment. So I say reactions take a long time. Possibly these take even longer. So base 448 base is 6 hours for this one reaction. With my skills it's down to 448, but base is 6 hours. Whereas if we go to regular, where's the market gone? It's behind here. The regular tungsten alloy, not the rolled tungsten alloy. View in industry. One run, 2 hours 24, right? The base is 3 hours. So not only do you sort of lose some of the tungsten and obviously all of the atmospheric gases and things, and only get 36. I think it was 36 if you refine this. There you go, 36 rolled tungsten alloy, but that's at 55%, so again you're talking at best 20. So you get 20 units of rolled tungsten alloy instead of 100 in double the time. So you really need to work out whether the time investment is worth it. I'm probably not going to pursue this much further for now, until I get really into my T2 manufacturing down the line. But so for now I'm calling it on the unrefined reactions, but that's mostly just for interest to anyone that was interested in last week's talk. Right, so reactions done. What else have we looked at? So the Porpoise was I mentioned at the start of this video, I did buy and fit a Porpoise for use in wormhole mining as a booster. I will link the fit I've done again, but what's it called? It's an industrial command ship, so down here. But this is the fit I've gone for. I will link it, and if anyone is interested I'll do a more detailed video on the viability of mining with one of these compared to a barge or an orca, etc. But I didn't necessarily buy it for efficient solo mining. I've got it so that I can run ops in the wormhole without the risk of losing an orca straight away. Once we've got more cash and more people and things, then and some defense, and we get more organized with our wormhole operations, then we might look at bringing an orca in. But for now, with the Porpoise, I'm able to boost people, got a bigger hold to hold some ore and haul it every now and again, and also it's relatively tanky, 65,000 HP, but also quite cheap, 143. I've not got this fit for optimal mining. You can see in the rigs, like, you could just fill it with mining augmenters to increase the output, and you could put different things in, but I've gone with an element of tank. Yeah, you could put more navigation computers in to speed the drones up, put more of those in, but I've gone for the tank because I'm going to be playing in a wormhole. I've taken it for a run out of solo mined in it, and it achieves reasonable rates. I get about 800 meters cubed. Is it more? It might be more than that. But again, I'll do a separate video on it if people are interested. Just drop me a comment if you want to see. And I've done one small boosted up with just a few ventures and endurance, and that was good. That was good fun. We've also done a few combat site operations again. Me and a couple of the directors have fleeted up in cruisers and gone and cleared several sites in the wormhole. It's pretty good ISK per hour, so for anyone in the corporation wants to join us, just hit us a message. We do it fairly regularly. So the nice thing about the C2 is the C4 static, and it's also got a lot of other wormholes all the time. So we've got a neighbouring C2 at the moment. We had a neighbouring C3 yesterday, and so they're always changing, which gives regular content. For the C4 sites, we'll be looking at doing them soon, but we need sort of battleship doctrines or a lot of cruisers, but that's unlikely. But remote repping dummies and things, or chain repping, that sort of stuff for the C4s. We're looking into that now. Later this week, and hopefully I'll cover it in the video next week, a successful operation. But later this week we are going to be doing some structure bashing in our C2, starting the long process of removing everyone else's stuff so that we're safer and that it becomes our wormhole proper. So that's on the cards for this week. Oh, and the other big part of my week, this is what I'll wrap up with, because it's also been a big part of my week, is spreadsheeting. I think I mentioned last week or the week before that I have been looking into building some proper spreadsheets and things, and as I say, following Mupasega and other people to find out the best way to run Excel, because I'm not an Excel expert in any way. But I have set up what I'm quite pleased with in terms of a mining operations spreadsheet. So I can record people's activity and work out payouts and stuff nice and quickly and simply. I think I've got it open here somewhere. So this is just the spreadsheet. It looks, please ignore if you think it looks ugly or whatever, like, that's fine. It's not supposed to look that nice. But basically, there's all the members down here. You can just fill in the time that they turn up and time out, and that has to be a time, and it then works out the total shares based on time spent in. And then here I just paste all the compressed ore that was picked up. So if I just tap in compressed Veldspar, and we got, there you go, type ID for it automatically, and we got 20,000 units of compressed Veldspar. Goes and gets the MR price, works out the payout, and then works out how much I need to pay each person based on the time they spent in, and then tells me whether or not I've paid them. Let's do another quick example just so you can see it. So let's go compressed solid pyroxeres, and we got 15,000 units of that. Bam, and the payout's all updated. So that's the plan here, and you don't have to type it in here either. You can just If you just copy it from your inventory in game with Control C, you can just come up here, Control Paste, and it will auto-populate and fill all this in. So that's the plan, and it's live pricing. Gets it from the APIs and the inv types. The only thing that I'm struggling with that is annoying, and so if anyone watching has a solution for it, is when I refresh the API links. If I refresh all, some of these numbers might change. There we go. But what you'll see is the attribute ID all flicked over to the left, which gives me errors in my values. But if I then just basically activate the cell by going up here and hitting enter, it moves back to the right. And I have to do this every time I refresh the cell. And I don't know how to get around that until I do the right thing. So if I go to 28397 and activate that cell, I'm not doing anything, right? All I'm doing is I clicked up here and then clicked off, and now it works. It gets the price. So if anyone knows how to enable it so that I don't have to click up here and click off every time I refresh the API, please let me know, because I'm really pleased with the spreadsheet generally. It's just really annoying that I have to do that every time. Obviously I only have to do it for the ones that are in here, but it shouldn't have to. So any solutions to that are more than welcome. So this is I'm really pleased with, and I can make this available to anyone that's in my corporation that's going to be operating mining operations when I'm unavailable. I can just ping them this, and then they don't have to do anything, right? They can just go, these are the people, these are the time they arrived, these are the time they left, this is the ore, done. This is what's, then they've got all the values that need to be paid out, which I can do. And then this one, much uglier, much more heavy, bulky and stuff, so please don't judge it. But just to give you an indication of what I'm looking at, is I'm trying to set up a long-term T2 manufacturing spreadsheet. So at the moment on this reactions page, what you can see is the composite materials, and then what goes into them for each reaction. So they got the reaction, the output. So for a 10,000 crystalline carbonide, I need 100 of this material and 100 of this material, and then 5 fuel blocks. Then if you come left, I can then find 16659 over here. So it's 100 carbon polymers, but to produce 100 carbon polymers I need 100 of that, and 100 of that, and 5 of that. So 16633 is 16633. Am I reading it wrong? 16633. Hydrocarbons. So my next step, when I can get there, and it does all that automatically, right? It's doing it through formulas. So my next step will be so that it can tell me if I want crystalline carbonide, it gives me the raw inputs to get to that, not without the intermediate step, so I know what materials I need to go and buy at the market or mine to fill my warehouse, that sort of thing. So that's all happening in the background. I've spent quite a lot of time on it, and I'm by no stretch an Excel expert, so it's taken me a long time, and I am so far pleased with the progress I've made. So I guess that's probably it for this week. I'll wrap it up now. Next week will hopefully be more exciting stuff. There'll be news on the direction of the corporation and things. Yes. But at the moment, this is everything. The video's still got a lot longer than I thought it would. But I guess that means there's quite a lot going on in the life of a corporation director, right? So hopefully you're still finding it interesting. 3 episodes in. If there's anything you'd like to be different, to see different, if there's anything you'd like me to change, let me know and I'll see what I can do. But for now, this is the format I'll stick with until I hear otherwise. So thanks very much for watching, guys, and I'll see you all next week. Cheers.